Good morning and aloha. Thank you to Reverend Korahara and to Bradley for inviting me to share with you today. To all of you who are observing Hatsubon, my deepest condolences on your recent loss. Thank you for taking the time to honor your loved one today. Obon is a special time to remember and to celebrate our continuing relationship with our loved ones and all who came before us, who have enabled us to live. Each summer, we look forward to the Obon season with its colorful lanterns, rhythmic beat of taiko drums, and delicious food. Obon is one of our most important celebrations, and it is truly a gathering of joyful memory. However, this year, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we will not be able to celebrate Obon in the traditional way. When we began this year, I don't think anyone imagined how challenging and life-changing things would become. We've had to quickly let go of our hopes for a smooth journey as this pandemic and the civil unrest we face as a nation reminds us that there is an imbalance in nature and within our own society. As we face these challenges, we've had to reflect on whether only positive outcomes in life are ever guaranteed. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that all things in life are impermanent, that each of us and all things in the universe are subject to constant change. So, good fortune and misfortune are simply part of our lives which will come and go. This is the important part, or the important lesson of impermanence that we should understand, that both the good and the bad times in our lives will not remain forever, that there is always light in the darkness, and there is always hope for transformation and change. So, how do we find courage and strength to face our many challenges? We do so by turning to the Dharma for guidance and by remembering our loved ones. The simple act of remembering those that have gone before, allows us the opportunity to reflect on and to enrich our lives here in the present. In our tradition, memorial services are truly meant for the living. It is a time for us to remember and to express our deepest appreciation for our loved one who has passed on. And by remembering their lives and the lessons they taught us, we can live our lives, our present lives, with greater meaning, greater richness, greater comfort. Obon has its origins in the Ulambala Sutra. The word Obon is the shortened form of the word Urabon-e, which means to suffer as if being hung upside down. The sutra tells us the story of Moggallana, one of Shakyamuni Buddha's 10 great disciples, and how he suffered over the death of his mother, feeling a sense of deep regret and sorrow. He believed that her devotion to him had been a barrier to her understanding the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. However, the Buddha counseled Moggallana by asking him to reflect deeply upon this, and he came to realize that his mother's devotion to him was based on an unselfish love. With this profound insight into his mother's life, Moggallana danced with joy, and his regret and sorrow were transformed into appreciation and gratitude. Obon reminds us of the great web of life, that our lives are made possible by countless causes and conditions that we should be grateful for. We're also reminded that we have a responsibility to create a meaningful life for future generations. While Obon is a festival of joyful memory, it is also a reminder that we are links between the past and the future. Obon teaches us that how well we live in this present life, in this present moment, is the best way of honoring those that have gone before. Obon is truly a joyful gathering in which both the living and the dead rejoice in the universal embrace of Amida Buddha, who calls out to us to come just as we are. While our dancing is a physical act of remembrance for our loved one, it is not for their sake that we dance. We really dance for ourselves. When we truly hear Amida's calling voice and awaken to the working of wisdom and compassion in our lives, we can do nothing else but to express our profound joy and gratitude. This is why we dance, because we realize our loved one has become one with timeless reality, and they continue to embrace us each and every day through the activity of the Buddha's vow expressed in Namo Amida Butsu. In Buddhism, we are taught that death should not be feared, because it is the ultimate truth of our existence, that all things are impermanent. Even the death of Shakyamuni Buddha underscores this basic truth of life, that we and all other things in this world are subject to constant change. The Buddha taught us about the truths of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and how we can live without fear or worry. The Buddha intended that through his teachings, we would understand the impermanent nature of our existence and ultimately find relief from suffering. Death provides an opportunity to appreciate and to celebrate true and real life. This is an opportunity to remember our loved ones and to hear the Dharma. Last week, we had a beautiful full moon. The moon reminds us that the true Buddha is enlightenment itself, and the essence of enlightenment does not change despite what we may see. People call one phase of the moon the full moon, and another phase the crescent moon or the quarter moon. But in reality, the moon is always perfectly round, neither waxing nor waning. Buddha is precisely like the moon. In the eyes of humans, Buddha may seem to change in appearance, but in truth, Buddha does not change. We believe when someone dies, they become one with the Buddha. Therefore, while their physical form may pass from this world, the essence, the true essence of who our loved one is, continues to live on in enlightenment. While not physically present, our relationship continues on, and it is this relationship that is healing. During my time in seminary, I read this book called Bringing Zen Home, The Healing Heart of Japanese Women's Rituals by Paula Arai, in which I encountered a wonderful story of remembrance and healing. Arai illustrates how our relationship with departed loved ones can be healing and life-giving. She shares the following. Each time Honda-san comes back to her studio apartment, I noticed she calls out, "I'm home, tadaima." She is engaging in a common Japanese family greeting reserved for those coming in and out of their home. Honda-san, however, lives alone. She is addressing the photos of her parents on her homemade bureau-top Buddhist altar. They passed away more than 3 decades earlier, yet they are still her family. Her heart hears their response. Your return home is welcomed. Okaeri nasai. Honda-san has transformed a ubiquitous household greeting ritual into a healing ritual. With each greeting into the empty apartment, she knows she is not alone. Arai goes on to explain how this simple ritual enables Honda-san to experience her interrelatedness on a daily basis. It is also part of what helped her change her perspective on life. She does not feel alone. I encountered a similar story illustrating the healing power of memory in the movie Before Midnight, starring Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke. There is a scene where they are talking with some friends over lunch. One of their friends is an older woman who talks about her late husband and how over time she finds herself forgetting details about him and about their lives together. And so she shares with them that she makes a determined effort to remember him every single day. Some small detail, some funny story. In this act of remembering, she can hold on to the emotions and feelings accompanying the memories, and she feels close to him. This is why Hatsubong is such an important time of remembrance and gratitude. The Buddha's boundless compassion embraces us in life and death. It fills the seen and unseen universes, and it flows through both our living and our dying. We come to understand that life and death are manifestations of the total dynamic working of the universe. Buddhism teaches us to appreciate the fullness of life with all of its challenges and joys for whatever time we may have. According to Dr. Taitetsu Unno, all this is contained in the name that calls, the sounding of Namu Amida Butsu. No matter who, what, or where, whether living or dying, each of us is Namu, inseparably bound to the dynamic life that is Amida Butsu. Thus, whenever Namu Amida Butsu is said, all beings, both in life and in death, come truly alive for the first time. The division between living and dying is overcome by the Buddha's name that calls. The Nembutsu is not a mindless phrase, but a grand affirmation of life in which we discover that both living and dying contain infinite significance. In such an appreciation, we gain new strength and courage to live each moment fully and gratefully, extending compassion to all beings without end. Saying Namu Amida Butsu is like the greeting of Tadaima and Okaeri Nasai. In Namu Amida Butsu, we know that we are not alone. There's a poem that has been handed down in our tradition as a way to remember our loved ones who have passed on. It says, "If you miss me, say Namu Amida Butsu, for I too live in the 6 letters. If you miss me, say Namu Amida Butsu, for I too live in the 6 letters." This poem reminds us that when we walk the path of Nembutsu, we are never alone. Your loved one will always be with you in the working of Namu Amida Butsu. In the end, it's not how long we live that matters most, but rather how well we have lived each unrepeatable moment of this life. This is what the Dharma is teaching us, to savor each moment and to live life to the fullest without regret. Thank you for inviting me to share with you and to celebrate Hatsubong. It's a privilege to share this special time with you. While Hatsubong is an important observance, it is just one moment in a lifelong journey with grief that will change over time. We grieve because we love, and we love because we're human. The pain of loss reminds us of our love and keeps our hearts open. And within our grief, we discover that love is greater than time and place, and even greater than death. It is this love which transforms our sorrow into appreciation and gratitude. As you take time to remember your loved one today, reflect on how your journey has been since their birth in the Pure Land. These services are truly meant for us, the living, as a time to remember, to reflect, and to renew our relationship with our departed loved one and with each other. Obon is a time to celebrate the enduring love of family, which, like the circle in which we dance, has no beginning or end. Our loved ones never truly leave us. They live on forever within our hearts, within our minds, and within the Buddha's honored name. May Amida's light of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion embrace and comfort you always. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.